In this video, we are going to compare the Swiss Bionics PMF mats, such as the IMRS Prime and the IMRS Omnium1 PMF mats, to the Healthyline, also known as the Healthywave infrared PMF mats. Swiss Bionics is a multi-level marketing company who has many distributors, some who have been making false claims about Healthyline's mats. These distributors pretend to act as independent reviewers and experts in PMF therapy, but provide false information about Healthyline's PMF technology and more, including showing fake and misleading tests. This comparison is going to show the real testing and set the record straight about healthy lines, also known as healthy waves, mats, and superior PMF technology, in head to head comparisons against the Swiss Bionics IMRS PMF mats. We will be showing testing on the PMF programs of each mat, performing dirty electricity and electro-smog testing, comparing the rapid rise and fall of the waveforms, and testing the intensity of each mat and which company's mat provides better PMF distribution overall. The Swiss Bionics PMF mats only have two models, the IMRS Prime and the IMRS Omnium 1. Prices can be hard to find, but some IMRS distributors advertise the IMRS Prime set at over $7,800 and the Omnium 1 set at over $4,000. These prices can vary depending on which exact package you get. As Swiss Bionics is a multi-level marketing company, a lot of the cost of the product is markup for the multi-level marketing distributors. When selling a Swiss Bionics IMRS mat, distributors are paid out 45% of the sales price in commissions. Swiss Bionics also makes their own profit on top of this as well. This contributes to the high prices of the IMRS mats. Healthyline has multiple lines of infrared PMF mats, all at much more affordable prices. Healthyline's Platinum mats, also known as the multi-wave mats, are the highest end PMF mats with the advanced controller, which we'll be primarily focusing on in this review and comparison. These mats come in multiple sizes and affordable prices from $999 to $2,499 and are multi-therapy mats made with real crystals, have infrared heating, negative ions, red light therapy, and advanced PMF technology, including the square wave, having multiple pulse widths, variable intensities, 1 to 30 Hz frequencies, and advanced preset programs. Healthyline also has many more affordable models with simpler but still very effective PMF therapy, such as the newest Jet series or high intensity PMF mats up to 30 Gauss, Rainbow or Chakra mat series, and the Taj and Teo series, also known as the 5 and 4 therapy mats. These mats range anywhere from $279 to $1,999 and are all made of real crystals, have infrared heating, generate negative ions, have red light therapy, and advanced PMF technology as well. Our first test is measuring the IMRS Omnium 1 mat's morning mode on the full body mat. We can see 5 groups of 4 sawtooth waves being pulsed on and off on this mode. This mode is also referred to as 15 Hz. Now that we know how many sawtooth waves are in each smaller group, we can zoom out to look at this pattern to determine how Swiss Bionics is determining this frequency. We see these 5 groups of 4 sawtooth waves are being pulsed 7 times in a row before a longer pause. This provides about 60 total pulses per second if we look at individual sawtooth waves, or 15 groups of 4 sawtooth waves per second. This then does make sense why they claim this is 15 Hz, as there are 15 groups of sawtooth waves per second. The next program is noon mode, which we are now seeing 4 groups of 4 sawtooth waves before a pause. This mode is also referred to as 5.5 Hz. This program looks very similar to the first program, and this is where the IMRS program's advertised frequencies start to not make a lot of sense or add up in our opinion. You'll also start to see why these self-proclaimed PMF experts who promote the IMRS never show you detailed videos like this of the IMRS's PMF programs. When we zoom out to look at the larger pattern, we can see these groups of sawtooth waves are being pulsed 12 times in a row before a longer pause. We find there are approximately 48 individual sawtooth waves per second, which is composed of 12 groups of 4 pulses per second. Using the same method of calculating we did for the morning mode, this should be around 12 Hz, as there are about 12 pulse bursts per second. There's no one single way to calculate frequency, but you would expect the calculations to be consistent throughout the programs. Third mode is evening mode, which is said to be 3 Hz. Again, this mode looks extremely similar to the two previous modes with some minor differences. This time there are 5 sawtooth waves, pulsed 4 times in a row before a pause. The oscilloscope is showing a total of 1 second of time, with each division being 100 milliseconds. I guess for this mode, you could say there are 3 larger groups per second, which is 3 Hz. But this could also have been said for the previous two modes as well. When we zoom out and look at the larger pattern, we can see these groups of sawtooth waves are being pulsed 20 times in a row before a longer pause. We find there is approximately 60 individual sawtooth waves per second, which is composed of approximately 12 groups of 5 pulses in a second. Would this mode also not be 12 Hz like the previous mode, as we're getting 12 groups of sawtooth waves per second? Finally, the last mode is referred to as night mode, which is said to be zero point 0.5 Hz. Again, this mode looks fairly similar to the three previous modes, but is now only pulsing 5 sawtooth waves 3 times in a row. IMRS distributors claim these frequencies align with the circadian rhythms of your brainwaves, such as your beta, alpha, delta, and theta brainwaves. But clearly, they do not, as we have shown from the testing. When we zoom out and look at the larger pattern, we can see these groups of sawtooth waves are being pulsed 20 times in a row before a longer pause. We find there is approximately 45 individual sawtooth waves pulses per second, which is composed of 9 groups of 5 sawtooth waves per second. Using the original calculations, this would give us 9 Hz. This program is being referred to as zero point 0.5 Hz. You can see the detailed testing we have provided on the IMRS programs and come to your own conclusions on their frequencies and programs. Swiss Bionics is free to call their programs whatever they want. Each program is slightly different. Although potential customers may feel misled by some IMRS distributors who advertise these programs to align with your brainwaves. Next, we are looking at the IMRS square wave, which is found on the pillows, pads, and probes. For these applicators, there's only the one program that runs regardless which organ clock setting you select. This is also not an individual square wave pulse like used in the NASA study, but a high frequency pulse burst of almost 30,000 Hz. Due to being zoomed out on the oscilloscope, it does not show all the little pulses yet. We need to zoom in to the smaller time frames to see the individual pulses. This is a trick some of these multi-level marketers do when showing images of the IMRS square wave, is manipulating the oscilloscope settings to squish all the small pulses together to make the square wave look like a solid square or rectangle. 30,000 Hz is what the frequency would be if the pulses were ran continuously. This program is turning the 30,000 Hz on and off, which leaves each pulse burst to have closer to 1,500 individual pulses. When we zoom in, we can see the truth about the square wave being a high frequency pulse burst. We can also see this is truly a very high frequency pulse burst by going to the spectrum analyzer, which shows the primary frequency is just under 30,000 Hz. Now we are going to compare the PMF technology in the Healthyline Advanced Controller. This advanced controller lets you change the waveform, frequency, pulse width, and intensity, and additionally has 12 preset advanced programs. This controller is also very easy to use. Start by clicking PMF mode, which lets you set the time of our PMF session. Click the button again and we can select a waveform between a sine and a square wave. Click the button again and we can select any individual frequency between 1 and 30 Hz. Click the button again and we can set our pulse width between medium, fast, and ultra fast. Click the button again and now we can set our intensity from 10% up to 100%. Click the button again and the program is now locked in. Now click PMF on and you can run any individual PMF program. There are also 12 intelligently designed advanced PMF programs from F1 to F12. These programs are just one click to start and will run a 20-minute program in 4 5-minute stages, taking you through a variety of different PMF therapies. Now, let's look at the different types of pulses the Healthyline Advanced Controller can create. The first pulse is the medium sine wave, which is a long pulse width sine wave, which is closer to real Earth-based frequencies like the natural Schumann sine waves found in nature. Next is the fast sine wave, which is a quicker duration sine wave providing a more rapid rise and fall. The last sine wave is the ultra fast sine wave, which is an extremely quick pulse at around zero point 0.5 milliseconds. This also debunks IMRS marketers' nonsense claims that sine waves don't have rapid rises and falls. A sine wave with a short pulse width will have a very rapid rise and fall, and is one of the reasons having the ability to change pulse widths is very important in PMF. Healthyline uses real square waves, similar to like what is found in the NASA study. In the NASA study, they used variable duty cycles, which is another way of saying they had various pulse widths. The first square wave is the medium square wave. The output in blue is different than the input you see in yellow. This is because electromagnetic fields are created by changes in voltage. So a long pulse width square wave will actually end up providing three magnetic pulses. When the square wave is at the flat tops, there is no change in voltage, so there's no magnetic field being created. This is why you get this type of output when using a long duration square wave. The next square wave is the fast square wave, which looks similar but occurs over a shorter period of time. The last square wave is the ultra fast square wave. Since this square wave is so quick, the pauses in voltage are so quick it ends up ending as one single pulse, which looks very similar to the ultra-fast sine wave, but is slightly faster. No other PMF mats provide you the different waveform pulse width combinations like the advanced controller. Now, we sample one of the advanced controller's programs, which we will show short clips of each 5-minute stage found in the 20-minute advanced program. These programs take you through a variety of different PMF waveforms, pulse widths, frequencies, and intensities. This is very different from the IMRS programs we previously showed, which all just run the same type of PMF pulse at slightly different repetition rates, which provides you very little variability in your PMF therapy. While there are 12 intelligently designed advanced programs in the advanced controller, you can also create your own custom programs, giving you the ability to biohack and create any advanced PMF program you want. Next, we'll explore the spectrum analyzer. You are currently seeing the spectrum analysis of the advanced controller's medium sine wave at 7.83 Hz. Now, there's a lot of really bad, incorrect information put out by IMRS marketers and other PMF marketers when it comes to spectrum analyzer results. You may have heard marketing pitches about the IMRS or other mats providing harmonics and bundles of frequencies, providing you a multivitamin of different frequencies, and that these harmonics we are seeing on the spectrum analyzer are due to the sawtooth or square wave, with these marketers claiming sine waves are too simple and don't create them. As you can see on our spectrum analyzer test, we can already debunk some of this nonsense, as our 7.83 Hz medium sine wave is showing multiple bundles of frequencies, and there are actually Schumann resonance frequencies at around 7.83 Hz, 14, 20, 26, 33, 39, 45 Hz, and higher. If we zoomed out, we would also see this pattern of frequencies extend out indefinitely. All these frequencies do not really exist, though, just like the claimed harmonics and bundles of frequencies do not exist in the IMRS and other mats as well. This is due to them not understanding how a spectrum analyzer works, which provides a mathematical representation of the signal it sees through performing a fast Fourier transform. This recreates the PMF signal the spectrum analyzer sees through using multiple continuous sine waves. So all these additional frequencies and harmonics the spectrum analyzer shows are there to cancel each other out to create the pauses in between our PMF pulses. A simple analogy is taking two glasses of water, one hot glass of water and one cold glass of water. We can combine these and get a room temperature glass of water. Now, this does not mean our new glass of water has bundles of different temperatures of water in it. There's only the one temperature of water. This is also the same case in PMF, where your magnetic frequency spectrum is almost entirely determined by your pulse width. So when you hear these IMRS marketers and self-proclaimed PMF experts claiming that IMRS has broad spectral content due to the sawtooth and square wave, but claiming Healthyline does not have a good spectral content due to their sine wave, you can easily tell you're listening to a sales pitch of complete nonsense and fake science. If you do want a variety of frequencies on the electromagnetic spectrum, you need to use multiple pulse widths, which the Healthyline Advanced Controller can provide. Next, we are looking at the Healthyline Basic Controller, which comes with the Taj, Teo, and Platinum mats. This controller uses basic, but effective PMF therapy with the pulse similar to the medium sine wave. You can select from 1 to 30 Hz, and these pulses are delivered individually or in bundles. For example, 24 Hz delivers 6 bundles of 4 pulses for a total of 24 pulses per second, This is great, affordable PMF technology many customers have experienced wonderful results with. Next is the matrix pad, which is a high intensity PMF pad and spot applicator with a peak Gauss over 40. You can also choose from 1 to 30 Hz, but instead of individual pulses, this controller maintains a 50% duty cycle to provide maximum PMF therapy. Along with the infrared heat, this pad also contains a very powerful red light therapy spot applicator, along with additional therapies of negative ions and real crystals. As we go through several of the frequencies, you will also notice some of the programs performing polarity reversals, with the pulse starting out in the northern magnetic field and then switching shortly after to starting out in the southern magnetic field. The final controller we are looking at is on the jet mat, also known as the high intensity mat. This controller expands the PMF frequencies beyond 1 to 30 Hz and includes lower frequencies of 0.5 Hz and 0.25 Hz. This controller uses all individually spaced pulses. You will also notice this controller performs polarity reversals on some programs, with the pulses starting out in the northern polarity and then starting out in the southern polarity shortly after. Lots of disinformation has been put out by IMRS distributors making false claims about Healthyline's PMF controllers, never mentioning things like the quicker pulse widths on the advanced controller, and falsely claiming the controllers just pulse 60 Hz through electricity, which all these demos have completely disproven, as no frequencies were 60 Hz. And now, we will also show Healthyline, aka Healthy Wave Mats, have no dirty electricity or electro-smog whatsoever, which the same cannot be said about the IMRS mats, as the test will reveal. Dirty electricity can be measured from any power outlet. We can easily measure the bad RF radiation here and other lower frequencies as well with our other dirty electricity meter. We have already proven in previous videos that Healthyline, aka Healthy Wave mats, filter out all this bad high frequency dirty electricity. As you can see, the 4 to 5 microwatts of RF radiation that was present when measuring the power outlet is completely eliminated. But the IMRS distributors keep pushing this false information, including doing fake and phony tests, which we will debunk and disprove. In fact, any type of dirty electricity or electrosmog test you can perform will show a healthy line, aka healthy wave mats, are the cleanest mats available. But if you perform these same tests on the IMRS mats, you will get high readings in every type of dirty electricity or electrosmog test. One of these new misleading tests is using the tri-field meter on the electrical setting. It is true you get some readings on some areas of the healthy line mats when over spots where there are the wires from the DC powered lights. Newer models, such as the Jet high intensity mats, have improved this by shielding all electrical fields. Although electrical fields without the magnetic field component have no negative effects and are benign, as we'll show later in some tests. We can perform the same electrical field test using the tri-field meter on the IMRS mats, and we end up with higher readings than the healthy line mats, with readings of up to 150 on the full body IMRS mats, over 180 on the pillow applicator, and over 400 on the small double pad applicator, and over 900 on the probe from the old IMRS 2000. Why then do these IMRS distributors say healthy line mats are unsafe when the IMRS PMF mats have much higher readings? These electrical fields on the IMRS mats also do have magnetic components to them, so they are not benign like the healthy line mats, as we'll show in the next test. This next test is the same test one of these fake experts who promotes the IMRS performed, faking the results to falsely claim healthy line mats have 60 Hz electrosmog. We connect either a voltmeter or an oscilloscope's black lead to the ground and the red lead to a piece of aluminum foil. The aluminum foil is acting as a crude antenna for ambient electrosmog, and is why you see a distorted 60 Hz signal. When we plug in the mat and turn on all the features, there is no significant change. This is because, as we explained earlier, the electrical fields need to have magnetic components that cause any electrosmog effects. This design makes the healthy line, aka healthy wave mats, completely electrosmog free. Movements around the foil, such as plugging the mat in, moving the controller, or anything else, can cause small changes in the readings, as you can see how touching the foil does change the readings on the meter. When we perform this test on the IMRS Omnium1 mat and plug the mat in, there is a very large increase in the electrosmog readings. This is even without any programs running. As we have already measured, there are measurable electrical fields on the IMRS mats. There are also magnetic fields as well we can detect using different instruments. As you can see, there is an AC magnetic field present in the mat along with a lot of dirty electricity riding on top of it. This is because when you plug in the mat, there is an underlying magnetic and electrical current running through the IMRS Omnium1 PEMF mat, exposing you to electrosmog and dirty electricity. You can perform this test, replacing the aluminum foil with yourself, holding onto the red lead, to see the effects this has on your body's electrosmog voltage exposure. This test also gives the same results when the controller is on and the programs are running as well. As IMRS distributors who claim Healthyline or Healthy Wave have electrosmog have clearly never tested the IMRS mats, nor seem to know how to properly conduct these tests to begin with. Now, to finally test the higher frequency dirty electricity, which is RF radiation, using the tri-field meter on the RF setting, we can detect any frequencies above 20 megahertz. What we find is on the IMRS Omnium 1 mat, we are getting readings of over 150 microwatts of RF radiation. If you remember the video of the RF radiation from the power outlet, we were getting readings of only 4 to 5 microwatts of RF radiation. The readings we are getting on the IMRS Omnium 1 mats are 20 to 30 times higher than that, meaning you are getting 20 to 30 times more RF radiation than compared to the dirty electricity found in the power outlet from the power company. It should not be a surprise the IMRS mats have high RF radiation, as in their manual they state the IMRS 1 only uses RF energy for its internal operations. Its RF emission is therefore very low and unlikely to interfere with neighboring electronic devices. Although we are apparently detecting some coming out of the mat itself that you're lying on. Now, we're not saying that electrosmog or dirty electricity in the IMRS mats is harmful. It's the other IMRS distributors saying this type of electrosmog and dirty electricity is harmful. We are just showing the objective comparative results. Next, we are performing the intensity testing using an FW Bell Gauss meter. High quality instruments are required to give accurate measurements. For the Healthyline mats, we find the Matrix Pack has a peak Gauss of 43.6, the JetMat Pro has a peak Gauss of 30.7, the Platinum Mat's Advanced Controller has a peak Gauss of 6.5, and the Basic Controller has a peak Gauss of 18.5. Having sufficient intensity is very important, as magnetic fields weaken the further you move away from the source. Gauss intensity is also proportional to the amount of electromagnetic induction created. The higher the intensity, the higher the electromagnetic induction. These fake PMF experts promoting the IMRS mats use fake science to make false claims that low intensities generate more induction than high intensities, which is all completely false, as our tests will continue to show. The IMRS mat's intensity is too low to measure with the Howell probe on the FW Bell Gauss meter. Instead, we have a magnetic field sensor that gives a flat output of millivolts to milligauss for certain pulse widths. This sensor can accurately measure the IMRS full bodies mat's peak intensity, which it finds is approximately 1.5 Gauss on the foot of the mat on the highest intensity setting. The middle of the mat is approximately 1 Gauss, and the head of the mat is approximately 0.5 Gauss. This sensor also reinforces the fact that Gauss is proportional to electromagnetic induction, as if we perform the same tests on the Healthyline mats, we get higher readings, which closely match the readings we could measure on the FW Bell Gauss meter. Also, keep in mind these measurements are at the surface of the mat, and this intensity will weaken as you get further away from the source. IMRS distributors advertise the IMRS mats as having a similar intensity to the magnetic field of the Earth, which is around 0.25 Gauss to 0.65 Gauss. This is partially true, but only at the surface of the mat. The magnetic fields above the surface of the mat are much weaker, making this assessment very misleading. Only a few inches above the surface of the mat, the IMRS PMF intensity is much lower than the magnetic intensity of the Earth's magnetic field. These peak readings are also on the highest intensity setting of the IMRS PMF mats, meaning their lower intensity settings have even weaker magnetic fields. Overall, the magnetic intensity a user experiences when lying on the IMRS mat is far below even the intensity of the natural magnetic field from the Earth. While our sensor cannot pick up the individual pulses of the square wave pulse burst, we can still determine the small pad applicator has a peak Gauss of approximately zero point 0.9 and the pillow applicator has a peak Gauss of approximately 1.5. The IMRS PMF mats have very low intensity settings, including the sensitive setting, which the magnetic field is so weak it is hardly detectable at the surface of the mat, let alone above the surface of the mat. It is questionable if such a low intensity setting could have any PMF effects at all on a user lying on the mat. These low intensity settings seem very gimmicky in our opinion. Now we will calculate the slew rate of the IMRS PMF mats. The slew rate is a method of calculating the rapid rise and fall time by taking the peak Gauss and dividing it by the time that occurs over. The IMRS sawtooth wave has a very slow rise time, making the slew rate extremely low. Even the fall time at the end of the sawtooth wave is also a relatively low slew rate of only 10,000 Gauss per second at the foot of the mat and around 3,333 Gauss per second at the top of the mat. Even the slew rate on the Healthyline Jet's high intensity Pro mat is higher, with the medium pulse width sine wave. And the Jet mat is not designed to have a high slew rate, but is instead focused on providing higher overall intensity, which is found to be in the same effective range as many independent studies. While slew rate is only one method of looking at PMF, these fake PMF experts promoting the IMRS falsely push the IMRS PMF mats have high slew rates, which we have now proven is completely false. It is virtually impossible to achieve a high slew rate with such a low intensity PMF device. The slew rates from the IMRS square wave's pulse burst is no different, as you cannot achieve a high slew rate with such low intensities. Now, we will calculate the slew rate of Healthyline's advanced controller square wave. With a peak Gauss of 6.5 and a drop time of zero point 0.1 milliseconds, we achieve a slew rate of around 65,000 Gauss per second. If you do want a PMF mat with a good slew rate, you will find it with the Healthyline, aka Healthy Waves Platinum Multi-Wave mat. This PMF mat gives you maximum variability and different options of offering both high slew rates as well as slower, longer pulses with low slew rates but are more similar to Earth-based frequencies. We can also achieve a higher slew rate than the IMRS mats using the ultra-fast sine wave on the advanced controller, further debunking this disinformation sine waves are allegedly ineffective. Another way to test the total average energy output of PMF mats is using our magnetic field sensor connected to a voltmeter. Healthyline's high intensity mats output over 9 volts of energy into this sensor. In comparison, the IMRS mats only output around the peak of 300 millivolts, meaning they're outputting 30 times less energy. This is more proof Gauss intensity is proportional to energy induction and debunks this fake science put out by IMRS distributors. Finally, we will test the PMF distribution of each PMF mat. There is a lot of misinformation that large coils are needed in a PMF mat. As we scan the tri-field meter over the IMRS Omnium1 mat, you will see there are very large drop-offs of intensity near the folds of the mat. This leaves very large dead spots on the mat where you get very little PMF therapy even when on the highest intensity settings. We are only showing a brief shots of this testing. If you're interested in more detail, we have done much more in-depth testing on our website, healthywavemat.com. No PMF coil system is perfect, and you'll have strong and weak spots, but clearly these tests show IMRS large coils provide little advantage due to their low intensity. In comparison, Healthyline's mat coils are much stronger, and magnetic fields project outwards beyond the areas the coils are located. This creates a PMF field distribution with less drop-offs. We are now testing the IMRS Omnium1 mat at approximately 5 inches above the mat. You can see the intensity is much lower. Even right on top of the coils, the intensity is 90% less than the measurements at the surface of the mat. The areas between the pairs of coils are still extremely weak, with large intensity drop-offs. Large coils do have a slightly slower drop off rate when directly above the coils, but as soon as you move away from right on top of the coils, the low intensity cannot project very far out. In comparison, Healthyline's higher intensity coils project all over the mat and above, with the magnetic field evening out the higher we get above the mat. This is why it's important to have sufficient intensity in PMF mats, as the tests are showing. We have the full testing results, testing up to 300 points at 4 different levels on and above the mat at healthywavemat.com. This concludes our comparison of the Healthyline IMRS PMF mats. We hope this real testing and evidence we have provided has helped you understand the real science of PMF therapy and has also provided you with a fair, accurate comparison of these two PMF mats. IMRS distributors are extremely aggressive marketers who focus on attacking competitors' mats and disguising misleading sales pitches as general PMF information and buyer's guides. Unfortunately, most information put out by IMRS distributors is very inaccurate and misleading. Many people come across their marketing pitches thinking information is true and end up with a completely incorrect understanding of PMF technology. As you can see, much of this misinformation they have put out there is easily debunked with real scientific testing. If you are interested in the Healthy Line, aka Healthy Wave Mats, you can learn more at healthywavemat.com, where we focus on real science, real testing, and real PMF therapy.